Interlude 5, Flight, from Mount Speculation, 26th of December 2033, early afternoon. Folded Realm, Abandoned Fortress, mana signature F17731. Physical location, Mount Speculation, Alpine National Park, Victoria. We explored the crypt, and I couldn't help marvelling at the way my body moved now. Stronger and more responsive muscles, crisp reflexes, and a hum of energy beneath the skin. Maybe it was the 4600 combat XP I'd just earned, whatever the hell that meant. Sounded like gamer talk to me. My peripheral vision had widened too, and the edges of my senses were sharper. David was shivering. His hand drifted towards his right pocket. I couldn't help it. My face broke into a grin. He's finally going to ask. Finally. If he hadn't by the time we got home, I'd have asked him myself. He's never understood just how fantastic he is. Every time I tell him, he thinks he misheard, or that I'm joking. No, he's just the best. The words weren't what I expected, and that made them perfect. I turned, grinning like an idiot, took the ring, and slid it onto my finger. Before I could speak, time froze. A menu appeared. Do you want to marry David Nguyen? Yes or no? Of course, the universe would turn this perfect moment into a game. I reached out and pressed yes with a thought, and then answered in my own way, scooping David up into a kiss so fierce I forgot my new strength and tossed him a full meter into the air. Oops. I caught him mid-fall, folded him into my arms, and wrapped wings around both of us. Had to be careful with those. Each feather was as sharp as a blade. Face the world alongside you? Always. 10 minutes later, still grinning, I made myself let go. I'd rather stay here, I admitted. But the world outside isn't going to get safer just because we had a moment. I didn't want to be all business, but I'd have to be. That coin I gave you before, pretty sure it contains a folded realm like this one. I also got 2 more items I could claim now or later, but I've got no idea how heavy they are. I only picked the coin because I figured coin-sized. I glanced at the heavy disc. Didn't expect a bloody plate. David gave me that sideways grin of his. Anything immediately useful? Extinguishers, weapons, hazmat suits? I flicked through the notifications again. Crate containing F or D grade equipment with a tiny chance for C. His eyes widened. It's a loot box? We're trapped in some horrible Gatcha nightmare? I shrugged. I didn't speak gamer. Crate sounds bulky. Leave it for later. Then Dave turned with a smile. By the way, nice work falling into an obvious trap back outside. Obvious? 1 second you're flying, next, bam, giant silver pyramid. Not so easy. You try growing wings and dodging light shows at the same time, I shot back. It's harder than it looks. We both laughed. A shaky, brittle laugh, but it helped. I pulled my sheet back into focus. Resolve had surged higher again. Resolve, 164 out of 104 maximum. Joys, wedding bells, question mark, plus 60. I'm not sure what Resolve actually did, but I felt like I could take on the bloody world. Combat XP seemed to go up each time we got into trouble. David and I could talk about these details when he got his own sheet. The important part sat under bind points. Bind point 1, Abandoned Fortress, signature F17731, bound to Miracle of Flight. Current mana reserve, 19,200 out of 24,000. Recovers 1 a minute, suppressed by 20%. The other 3 bind points remain blank. So, the fortress wasn't just a location I own now. It was a reservoir. A fortnight's worth of flight mana, banked and waiting. That had to be enough to get us back to the car without walking. But my grin faded as another thought crept in. What about Melbourne? Was it crawling with dinosaurs? Were people flying around, slinging spells like confetti? And the very worst people, the ones who crave power, what were they doing with this? I didn't say that part aloud. David had enough to carry without me piling on more dread. The fortress dissolved the same way it had swallowed us. Silver line spinning, reality folding into a single point, then crackling open onto a different world. Then came smoke and fire. The bush around Mount Speculation had been dry enough to snap underfoot yesterday. Now, the same ridges and gullies burned bright orange. Wind whipped embers into new fire fronts. Flames licked at treetops and climbed trunks already blackened from the 2026 fires. I didn't waste time. I scooped David close, wings flaring, and launched. Hold tight! I shouted against the wind. The air reeked of smoke, stung my eyes, and scraped my throat raw. I climbed higher, faster, until the smoke thinned and the ridges spread beneath us. 60 metres up, I could see Mount Howitt ahead, its broad and gentle slopes a beacon of safety beside the sawtooth ridges en route. The Blind Point Reservoir ticked down, but not too fast. 24,000 mana might not be infinite, but it was a bloody miracle all the same. For a few seconds, I let myself revel in it, the air rushing under my wings, David solid in my arms, the valley sprawling beneath us. Then David tensed. "Amy!" he shouted over the wind. "There's a pterodactyl on our tail!" I risked a glance. Sure enough, it had leathery wings, a long beak, and awkward flight. It wasn't gaining on us yet. "Stay calm," I said. "It's slower than us." "Not by much. If it dives..." He wriggled one arm free, fumbling in his pack. By the time I realised what he was planning, he'd pulled out a spear-length branch we'd sharpened earlier. "David, don't!" "Dwai histe igne." He pronounced it a bit clumsily, but the meaning was clear. Twin spears of fire. The spear burst into flame in his hands, then split into two fiery twins. One shot true, punching straight through the dactyl's chest. The creature shrieked once, a horrible rattling cry, then folded and tumbled into the smoke. The second spear kept going. I watched in horror as it arced far past the already burning ridges and out into untouched green. It punched into a stand of tall eucalypts, and the leaves of 10 trees lit up like they'd been soaked in petrol. I'm not proud of it, but I'm somewhat of an expert when it comes to fire. Within seconds, a new plume of smoke boiled upward. I glared down at him. "Congratulations, you might have just started another 2026 fire. Hope you like barbecued dino." His face crumpled. I thought... "I know what you thought," I snapped, then softened both my grip and my words. His mistake wasn't malice. It was just panic. And we'd live. It'll be alright. We'll make it alright. Together. I banked towards Mount Howitt, pushing harder. The sooner we were down and out of the open sky, the better. Howitt's broad dome rose ahead, the smoke-thick sky paling to blue above it. Compared to the knife-edge ridges we'd crossed, its summit looked like an open meadow, grass waving in the hot updrafts, low scrub curling along the edges, even the stone markers looking less jagged than everywhere else. I touched down hard, wings beating once more before folding. My arms ached from carrying David, but I didn't let it show. The car was still kilometres away, and there was no room for weakness. And we weren't alone. A boy, maybe 14, stared at us from next to the summit cairn. His mouth hung open. Behind him, 2 women stood frozen. One woman was as red-haired as myself, her age showing in creases around her eyes. The other, short-haired, darker, and despite her eyes looking around 50, she had the type of smooth skin you'd envy at 30. The packs lay dropped beside them. All 3 were staring at me like I'd flown down from heaven. Or flown up from hell. The redhead found her voice first. What the hell was that chasing you? And how are you flying?" I forced a smile. "Pterodactyl. As for the wings..." I shrugged. Something about the world changed, right about the time of the Phobos landing this morning. Don't know what exactly, but we can conjure magic now, and there are dinosaurs out there attacking. See for yourself. I shoved our binoculars into her hands. She raised them with shaking fingers. The other woman leaned in, the boy craned. I didn't need to see their faces. The sharp intake was enough. Fire. Dinosaurs moving in the smoke. At last, the boy managed a word. I'm Tyson," he said, pointing to his chest. He motioned at the redhead. "Liz." Then to the short-haired woman. "Ruth." He looked up at me with wide eyes and asked, "Are you a superhero?" "I'm closer to a fire hazard," I said, and ruffled his hair once. "But I'll take the compliment. It's good to meet you all," I said quickly. "Even better if we can all get down to our cars in one piece. You're camping at McAllister Springs and parked a few clicks past that?" Liz nodded, still pale. "Then we go together. Don't argue. Just follow." David, still catching his breath, muttered, "We could carry them if it gets bad. Tyson with me, Liz and Ruth with you." I frowned. "Possible, but it'll drain mana and strength. We save that for if things really go bad." Ruth lowered the binoculars, eyes glassy. "Bad compared to this?" "Trust me," I said. "It can get worse." We left the summit together. 5 shadows stretched across the alpine grass. The track wound downward in long, easy switchbacks. Snow gums curled on either side, their trunks still scarred from the fires 7 years ago. 2 kilometres to McAllister Springs. On a normal day, it would have been a 50-minute stroll. Today, It was a 20-minute hard march, fire gnawing at our backs. Smoke rolled in uneven waves. Some bends opened on a crisp blue, the air sharp and alpine cool. Others stung the eyes and left the taste of ash on the tongue. The heat was bad, but it wasn't killing heat. David set a brisk pace up front. Liz and Ruth kept Tyson between them, but the boy's feet weren't made for this sort of punishment, and he slipped often on loose stone. After the third stumble, I crouched and told him to climb onto my back. He was light, barely slowing me at all. From higher up the ridge, flames lit the horizon. They remained distant for now, but they were spreading, fast. The Razor Ridge burnt like a fuse, smoke boiling into the sky, and flames engulfed the Viking. That mountain always looked menacing, but today it looked apocalyptic. Fire did that to a mountain. Clear ahead, I told David, but that fire's racing us. He nodded once, jaw set. Then we keep moving. And so we did, down to the springs, 5 figures hurrying with smoke on our heels. The springs looked almost peaceful when we broke into the clearing. The grass was soft underfoot, the creek ran bright and clear past the hut, and the view from the toilet would have been spectacular. Who builds a loo to have a view? If you ignored the haze of smoke, the crackle on the wind, it could have been any summer afternoon. But the smoke was there, heavier every minute, creeping even into this hollow. The illusion of peace here was a trap. This place would be a pyre just like the Vikings soon. Don't stop, I said, setting Tyson down and rolling my shoulders. We've still got 5 kilometres to the cars. Easy track, gentle downhill the whole way, but we need to be gone before the fire feasts on this valley too. Drink a litre of water each. If you don't want water, force it down anyway. Then we move. Liz and Ruth didn't argue. Their eyes kept darting to the smoke as I forced down a huge bottle of water. Tyson clung close to them, pale but steady. We pressed on. The trail widened here, gravel underfoot, switchbacks cutting smoothly across the slope. It was the kind of path you could walk at night with a head torch, half asleep, and still never miss a step. Today, we half jogged it, each crunch of boots against stone underlined by the hiss of wind in the gums. David rotated between carrying the 3, allowing them to rest. And then, as the car park came into sight through thinning trees, I felt it. The same male voice that spoke when I'd collapsed by the fire. But this time, it wasn't speaking to me. It was speaking to David. Contract quest complete. Path of the Guardian successfully upheld. David stumbled, catching himself on a tree trunk. His eyes went wide. Rewards allocated. Party member David Nguyen has unlocked miracles, fire, lightning, and ice. Class awarded, elemental pugilist. Core competencies available. David slowed for a heartbeat. It wasn't exhaustion. Something in his face simply shifted as his focus turned to something only he could see. David? I asked sharply. He blinked, looking at me as though I'd suddenly turned into one of the dinosaurs. Then a grin cracked his face, wild and disbelieving. Amy, I can see it. The stats. The sheet. Just like yours. I exhaled. Finally, it's been maddening being the only one who saw the numbers. A world turned into a game that no one else was playing. But now, we were in this together. And when it came to games and numbers, David was a lot better at it than me. Behind us, something howled, deep, ragged, and full of hunger. The fire wasn't the only thing gaining ground. Later, I said, pushing him forward. Car now. Explanations after. We broke into the car park clearing, 5 smoke-stained figures staggering towards 2 waiting cars. Miraculously, there were no other cars here. We were alone, and that meant no one else would burn in our frying pan. I glanced at the line of smoke boiling over the ridge. Right, we go as a convoy. David, you drive lead. Liz, Ruth, Tyson, follow right behind. I'll fly cover. He started to protest, and I did love him for it. We'd been apart for maybe 2 minutes all day, and now I was telling him I'd be out of reach again. But I cut him off with a hand on his cheek. Don't argue. I'd rather ride with you too, but I can spot trouble faster from the air. I'll be right above you. I pulled back, wings flaring. The fires roared louder. Dinosaurs screamed somewhere in the smoke. Go! I shouted. Engines growled as the convoy rolled down the Alpine road, tires crunching gravel, exhaust fumes curling into the smoke. David led as the other family's 4-wheel drive tucked close behind. I flew just overhead, low enough to see the fear pinched around Liz's mouth and the way Tyson's hands pressed white against the glass. The track wound through snow-gum forest, and the smoke was everywhere now, snaking between trunks, drifting across the bonnet of the cars in slow veils. I kept shifting altitude, rising 30 meters, dropping back down again, scanning the ridgelines for movement. It didn't take long. Shapes moved in the haze, small ones at first. Chicken-sized dinosaurs scattered ahead of the firefront, bolting across the road, chittering, too panicked to notice the convoy. A few snapped at the tyres before vanishing into undergrowth. David hit one, and the car decisively won that exchange. Then came the larger ones. A pair of the medium-sized dino that David had called Deinonychus burst from the tree line, their feathered hides glowing red in the firelight. One lunge for the second car. "David!" I shouted down. I didn't need to tell him. His window cracked open and his hand shot out wielding nothing more than a sharpened lynch of branth. He hurled it, shouting his favourite words, "Fogor percutians!" Lightning crackled from wood to claw. The spear barely grazed the dinosaur, but the thunderbolt arced through the raptor and split it down the middle. It shrieked once, fell twitching, and didn't rise. The other Deinonychus wheeled away, only to fall and become a feast for the flame. The fire was everywhere now, running almost as fast as the cars. Whole ridges went up like tinder. It was terrifying, but also effective. Every time a dinosaur bolted from the smoke, the flames caught them. Small ones vanished in bursts of feathers. Larger ones staggered, roared, and collapsed in burning heaps. The fire was a predator no claw or fang could match. I shouted down to David, voice hoarse from the heat, "Don't stop! The fire's clearing them!" He didn't answer, but his grip tightened on the wheel. I could see the set of his jaw even from above. "David." And then another voice. Not mine, not Amy's. The same crisp, ancient voice that had spoken to me before, filling my skull. "Combat XP gained, plus 200, plus 600, plus 1200. Cumulative kills credited to party member David Nguyen." It went on, numbers flashing behind my eyes as the fire devoured beast after beast. I wasn't swinging fists, wasn't even touching them, but I'd killed them. Indirectly, unintentionally, but I'd killed them all. The system didn't care how they died, only that they did. By the time the road spat us out of the thicker smoke, the numbers had piled higher than I could count. And with them came a surge. Core competencies elevated, miracles of fire and lightning refined to competent rank, miracle of ice stabilized at derisory rank, class progression accelerated, elemental pugilist advanced to tier developing. It was overwhelming. The XP wasn't just numbers, it was power, burning through me in surges I didn't know I could hold. My arms shook on the wheel, not with weakness, but with energy. A day ago, I'd barely been Amy's match in an arm wrestle. Now, I felt like I could bench press a car. Right now, all this power didn't help much, although I imagined very soon it would. Right now, I kept one eye on the road ahead, and another on the mirror, watching the other car. We were going to make it out. Amy. From above, I saw him steady at the wheel, Liz's car tight on his bumper, both machines punching through smoke on the dirt road to Lacola. My wings ached, my throat burned, but the convoy kept moving. I hated flying apart from him, hated that I wasn't in the seat beside him, joking about playlists and eating stale trail mix from the glove box. But if the price of keeping him safe was flying watch alone, then I'd pay it. But one question haunted me every time I thought about it. Would it be safe to return to Melbourne? We'd stop at Lacola, the tiny gateway town to the park we'd just burnt down. If it looked safe, we'd check Terrelgan on the way home. Terrelgan had 30,000 people. If what we'd been through was commonplace, well, we'd know soon enough. I touched the ring on my finger. However bad it was, I wouldn't have to face it alone.